What Astros are primed to break out in 2025? We'll talk about this and more on this edition of Locked On Astros.
Jainel Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Locked On Astros. Nothing like doing an intro with your mic muted. Gotta love that. But hey, look, this is 2025, and this season is going to be unlike any other in the last 7 or 8 seasons. And tonight, I'm going to show you again. I teased this earlier. I have a listener that has been talking to me about it, saying, when are you going to do it? Tonight, after the show, I will be posting a contest for this bobblehead. It is a season ticket holder bobblehead exclusively given to season ticket holders with former Astro Alex Bregman, current Astro Lance McCullers Jr., and your starting left fielder Jose Altuve. Hey, this episode is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios are a delicious snack that are both, they taste good and they're nutritious. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit Wonderful Pistachios to learn more. So, guys, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all so much for stopping by. 24 days away. That is correct. 24 days, David, until opening day. I'm liking positive vibes, Dave, very much. Again, don't forget about this. I will post something on our YouTube channel. It will just ask you to do something to enter, and I will leave the entries open for probably 2 days, because if I leave it open longer, it's going to get way too many people to have to comb through. So that way you guys and girls can have a chance at winning this great bobblehead. Look at that. Mama Wheelhouse is in the house. Thank you, Mama. I appreciate you for showing up. Chris, Susan, Panda, Willard, Chazzy. We got Rio in the house. We've got Andrew is here. Everybody has shown up. Well, not everybody. Most everybody is here. I don't know who Nab is, but thank you for showing up. Speaking it into existence, Quincy Hamilton. I love it. Look, Quincy Hamilton does have an outside shot because he is an outfielder, but what we're going to do is focus on these names here for breakout season for 2025. I don't know that Quincy Hamilton would have a breakout season this year, but Quincy Hamilton, if he does make it to the big leagues, could have an impact on this team, not only because of his bat, I think plays well, but his gloves. So, Spencer Arrighetti's getting a lot of buzz. He is one of the names mentioned from the Astros to be a breakout pitcher this year. If you look at the pitching stats across the board, we have a few of those guys that are on this list, and you look at what they're doing so far. Spencer Arrighetti, 4 innings pitched, 1 hit, no runs, 5 strikeouts. He did have 3 walks in his first outing. That was mainly in the first inning that he pitched. Settled down after that, hasn't walked a batter since then. These are all small sample sizes. We know that you can't read too much into spring training, but then again, spring training is there to get you primed for the season. And if your pitchers like Spencer Arrighetti can get off the tarmac and fly and soar in spring training, it only builds his confidence for the regular season. Spencer Arrighetti is your number 3 starter, I would say. I would say it goes Framber Valdez, Hunter Brown. I would put Spencer Arrighetti before I would put Ronell Blanco. Ronell Blanco has kind of worried me a little bit this spring training. He hasn't looked as dialed in. And Ronell Blanco, I think for the health and wellness of this staff, to make sure that these Astros win games early, someone like Ronell Blanco needs to be on. He doesn't have to throw a no-hitter. he doesn't have to be immaculate, but he does need to go out and give you quality starts. Limit the damage, get to your bullpen. We'll talk about a couple of those guys that are key, but I just think that Spencer Arrighetti, with the combination of his confidence, with his experience, with the way that he learns his game and adjusts his game, I think is huge. Now, as he adjusts, the league also adjusts, and he's talked about that. He said, I know guys are going to make adjustments to me, but he's not at the point in his career or the type of person that isn't willing to tweak things, to make things go better on the mound. If he's not locating his pitches, if he's given up too many hits, too much hard contact. And that's what he's been working on, his spin rate. He's been working on soft contact, movement in the zone. So I think Arrighetti is one of your prime guys to break out. Now, one guy that's not on here that I'm going to add on that I think gets an honorable mention is Shea Whitcomb, okay? Shea Whitcomb, boys and girls, has really started this spring training off really, really hot, really, really well. He looks good at the plate. I think he's going to do much better with the glove. I know we all look back at Shea Whitcomb and we hear the 3 or 4 errors in that one game, but I believe that this kid has a huge upside when it comes to not only offense, but defense. I think he's got a good hit tool, and I think that Shea Whitcomb could be one of these honorable mention guys. But I think Zach DeCenzo is ready. Zach DeCenzo played winter ball. Zach DeCenzo looked good at the plate in winter ball, and he can play all over the place, okay? I believe he's going to be one of your utility outfielders. He is a guy that can slot in for Chaz possibly. He can come in the infield at times, but I do like Zach DeCenzo as being one of these breakout players. Now, I'm going to caveat to a few guys that aren't listed on this list to have a more complete conversation. So we have Arrighetti, who's a starting pitcher. What other young pitchers would I look at that I think are starters that will contribute to this ball club? And I'll start with this guy right here. I believe Colton Gordon is going to come out and do some really good stuff this year. I don't know when he comes up. I don't know when he starts games or why he has to start games. Hopefully it's not because of an injury. Maybe they're trying to extend it to a 6-man rotation. But I think Colton Gordon absolutely comes out and contributes. Another name that I think was going to contribute last year, but was halted from his major league debut, and that's Ryan Gusto. I think Gusto has the gusto, if you want to try to catch a catchy phrase with him. But I'm sitting here looking at all their numbers so far, and Gusto has 4 innings pitched. He has 2 hits, only 1 run, only 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. This guy's got stuff. He's got the stuff. And then I think you have Zach DeCenzo, and I think you also have Shea Whitcomb, who comes in. And so I'm kind of filling in the blanks where we have our 5 Astros prime for breakout 2025, but I think there's other guys we can mention. Now, I'm not saying that 10 players are all going to break out, but these are the ones that are primed to have a potential. Now, Chazzy B says his sleeper is Pedro Leon. Taylor Trammell, I'm going to have to disagree with you on these two, and I'll tell you why. Pedro Leon, I just don't know. He's going to have to just do it because he spent, 3.5, 4 seasons in AAA. Like, the time is now. The time was last year, okay? You don't spend that much time in AAA and not make it to the majors and have a complete player. He's just, yes, he hit better last year. The PCO is a hitter's league. You're going to hit in that league, okay? Taylor Trammell, he hasn't been healthy. I don't know how much Taylor Trammell's going to slot in there. I think Ben Gamel has a much higher % chance of making it. I think you can do a Ben Gamel and Chas McCormick type platoon, right-handed versus left-handed pitchers, and do that, okay? hopefully DeCenzo can get some playing time in the outfield. Look, I think if DeCenzo can get that playing time, then I think you are definitely on route for a really good season for Zach DeCenzo. But let's talk about our friends at I'm trying to find my where am I right here. Talk about our friends at Wonderful Pistachios here next. Looking for a snack that packs the delicious punch and it gets you in a nutritious mood for snacking? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. It's one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to keep you feeling fuller longer. And we all know we don't want those snacks where we eat them and 20 minutes later, 15 minutes later, we're like, oh, I haven't eaten. And then the problem is you snack all day and then you pack on the pounds. And look, with Wonderful Pistachios, with the more than 10% value of protein, it's going to be a game changer. They have the shell on or the shell off, 2 options. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs the protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Thank y'all for tuning in to Locked On Astros. I'm H-Town Wheelhouse. I'm not Ryan Gusto. I'm H-Town Wheelhouse here. I'm flying solo tonight. Eric had to take the night off, but I am here with you guys, and we're going to talk about Whitley, Van Way, and Smith. And I better say his name right because I actually bragged to him on social media that we said his name right, and he liked my tweet, so that's good. Beast Ben, I'm going to get to your Cam Smith question when I address Cam Smith. So if you would hold that question, I'll put a star by it so I go back to it. We will look at it. Andrew says a McCormick platoon with Gamble sounds pretty good. Now, I will not take credit for that idea. Not that all ideas are exclusively owned by the people that think them, but my friend Robert Land, I was just on his podcast, the Houston Sports Talk podcast. He does a great job. And he asked me, what would I think about Ben Gamble, Chas McCormick platooning right-handers versus left-handers? That would not be a bad platoon there. So yes, thank y'all for going with me on that. That was a good idea. Thank you, Robert Land, for your idea. Now, Forrest Whitley. Forrest Whitley is a guy that, people will make the jokes. Who is Forrest Whitley? I've heard of Forrest Whitley, but I don't know if I believe in Forrest Whitley, all those things. But in 2 innings pitched, he's looked dominant, 2 strikeouts, no hits, no runs. I mean, last game, he pitched a perfect inning. And so you'd love to see that. And with him, it's all about keeping him healthy, getting him in the groove and finding his niche. And I think his niche is going to be as a 1 inning guy. To me, he makes your setup guy. If he can keep the long ball, if he can keep the ball in the yard, he can not give up the long ball. You have a guy that can fit into your 7th inning. And also Logan Van Wy, he can also factor in here. I think Logan is primed for a great year. I apologize for looking down from the camera. I'm sitting here trying to look at my stats that I have, and the paper I printed, the print is rather small. Logan Van Wy has pitched 4 2/3 innings. Okay, it's not bad. Pretty good run right there. 4 strikeouts, only no runs, no earned runs, and only 4 hits and only 1 walk. I love that. Logan Van Wy, I think, is going to have a breakout year. But what other relief pitchers are there before we get to, we talk about Whitley, we talk about Van Wy. Are there other pitchers that may not have a breakout year, but could contribute in a solid way? I think one of those is Luis Contreras, who's having a nice spring, 3 innings pitched, 4 strikeouts, 1 hit, no runs, no walks. I love that. I also love, obviously, Taylor Scott's going to be there. Phenomenal. I know someone joked with me the other day and laughed at me when I said Blake Wyman is going to make this team. The dude's got 6 strikeouts in 3 innings. He has given up 6 hits, but only 2 runs and no walks. Huysman is a guy that's 29 years old, has been somewhat of a journeyman, but could be a dark horse to make this relief squad. And if not, you send that guy to AAA or wherever you need to send him, and then when the time is right, you bring him up. So you have those guys. We know Brian King is more than likely going to be there. Nick Hernandez, I think, is on the outside looking in. I don't know that he makes it. Rafael Montero, like Eric said, has 11 million reasons attached to him why he would make the team. Stephen O'Kurt, I think, does a good job in making the team. Bennett Salsa, who we haven't talked a lot about, could make the team. Misiel Tamarez is a guy that they've been high on. He's actually pitched really well this spring so far with 2 2/3 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 run, and 4 strikeouts. So what I'm saying here with these relief pitchers, whether it be Whitley, Van Wy, Huysman, Contreras, and I really need Miguel Castro to be that guy. Who we have, Caleb Ort, who's kind of been shut down because of something he's dealing with injury-wise. If the bullpen can stay healthy, if these guys coming up like the Van Wys, like the Whitleys, then I think this is going to be one of the top 5. Bennett Salza is the real deal. We've got some arms. I think we've got more arms than we thought we did originally. And so I love that. Now, getting to Cam Smith. Beast Ben asked the question, hey, Brett, what do you think of Cam Smith moving to center field or right field for the Astros this year, if they really need him, or even maybe Paredes to second and Smith to third? Okay, well, here's the deal. And this is what I would say about that, because you are thinking right along the lines that I've been thinking with Cam Smith. This is what I think the ideal scenario would be for Cam Smith. And he's got 2 different treks to the big leagues. Let's just say he does both of these first 2 things I mentioned. I think he's going to start in Double-A. You got to remember, he's had he's haven't had hardly a sip of coffee in each of the leagues he's played in, A, High A, and Double-A. I think he goes to Double-A Corpus. He plays 12 games, 15 games, then gets moved up. He probably rakes in Corpus, moves up to Sugar Land. Once he moves up to Sugar Land, okay, then you give him 15, 20 games. If he's raking, you've got to then evaluate the major league club. How is Chas McCormick doing in right field? Is the platoon, if you have it, of Gamble and McCormick working? Because when you combine Gamble and McCormick, again, Robert Land shared this with me, they have an 800 OPS. So those players together, when they face the right side or the left side of the mound, and you put them together, they have an OPS of 800. That's a manageable thing. Now, let's just say Chas McCormick doesn't have a good start to the year, which I'm not wishing anything bad on Chas. The Chas chomp and all that stuff. But if Chas is faltering in right field and they need an outfielder and the bat of Cam Smith is going to play, then Cam Smith goes to right field when he comes up. Now, if Chas is having a great year, or he's platooning with Gamble and they're successful there, it's like in Moneyball, Pete, when I point at you, what do you tell him? He gets on base, right? If that's working and they're getting on base or he's getting on base, then you absolutely put Cam Smith in his natural position at third base. You move Paredes to second. Then Altuve is primarily a left fielder or a DH. And that's what you do. And I think Cam Smith has 2 ways to either be the third baseman or the right fielder. Now, where do the Astros want him more than not? I think he's mega valuable at third base. I think in right field, though, he could be a superstar right fielder. I mean, can you imagine seeing Cam Smith jump up and rob a home run? The dude is an athlete. I don't know that he plays center field. Again, I think we're landlocked with Jake until we get a center field replacement because of his defense, because he's a veteran, because he knows how to tell Jose Altuve where to play, where to move. I think Jake is kind of a security blanket. And I know a lot of y'all aren't high on him, but that is what I think will happen. We'll continue this discussion on the other side here in 1 second. So I would like to know y'all's questions about the team tonight. I know I've done all the talking we typically do. You know, when we see these guys that they sign in the offseason, Brendan Rodgers, Guillorme, Trammell, Ben Gamble, all these guys, you wonder where they're going to fit in. And I think Rodgers fits in nicely. If you don't have Cam Smith coming up, you don't have Paredes moving to second. You have Rodgers manning second. Again, he's not there for his bat. He's there for his glove. Now, Rodgers did say that being with Houston, he feels like, and the Astros feel like, that he can get, actually, he said he feels like he can get more into a groove being at sea level. He said going from sea level to above sea level threw him off. Now, above sea level, he hit crazy good, 100 points over his average outside of Coors Field. But in his mind, he can be more consistent and better overall if he's playing at sea level, correct? And so I really do believe that Brendan Rodgers is, if he plays, is not going to be a bad pickup for the Houston Astros. I think he's a low risk, high reward kind of guy. We need to extend Cam Smith's service time. We don't need to call him up too early. Let's think long haul and not just the present. No, I totally agree with that. And you know, Eric talked about the Super 2 trade deadline and all that stuff. I mean, the Super 2 deadline. But my thing is he going to be needed? And if he's raking, it sounds like the Astros are so high on him that once he's ready, they're not going to delay. So it will really depend. Now, Andrew asked this, Dubon, he says Rodgers, Dubon, platoon at second base, and Altuve. Yeah, I can see that. Dubon and Rodgers at second base. That's not terrible. How do you fit in Caratini and Singleton, now who is now jacked? Do you trade him or bring up Salazar? He raked in his big league time. Okay, let's just get the truth out there about being yoked and being swole up, okay, like Singleton is. That's great. He looks great. I mean, the dude at his age probably looks better than he's ever looked physically. It does not change your hand-eye coordination. I mean, let's just be honest. Y'all remember the steroid era? Nobody talks about the guy who hit 218 and 8 home runs and took steroids. Because it was the guys that were hitting home runs, they were just hitting them a little bit more frequently and a little bit further. Guys, I'm going to be real honest with you. I don't think Singleton makes it out of camp. I don't think Singleton makes this team. He has to make the team or he's gone. Caratini, I think, plays a lot more catcher. I mean, he plays DH, but I think you're going to have Yainer Diaz probably on the bench when Caratini's catching versus having Caratini and Yainer in the lineup at the same time. So you're probably going to give Caratini more time catching. It gives Yainer Diaz more days resting. Caratini worked really well. Caratini can hit from the left side. I mean, look, the dude is a really good hitter. And so Singleton, I think, is the odd man out. So I elbow or L elbow is asking, what is the Super 2 deadline? Okay. And I really wish Eric was here because he has a real handle on the Super 2 deadline. So here is the definition of the Super 2 deadline from Major League Baseball. Okay. The Super 2, players typically must accrue 3 years of Major League service time with 1 year of service time equaling 172 days on the 26-man roster. Okay. To qualify for the Super 2 deadline designation, players must rank in the top 22% in terms of service time among those who have amassed between 2 and 3 years of the majors. The specific cutoff date varies. So basically what he has to do is he has to have so much time under his belt before he can, before it, I guess, affects the club adversely and ruins their ability, I guess, to manipulate his service time. I don't know that I explained that very well. I kind of feel like Nick Brigance when he talked about going back in time and how he would be a horrible time traveler. Have you seen that bit where he talks about going back to the early 1900s and you see some guy like on an old like phone and he's like put it up to his ear and they're like, oh, cool, we have cell phones. They're like, what's that? Oh, that's a phone in your pocket where you talk to people. And they're like, how does it work? And he's like, I don't know how that works. With the satellite, he goes, what's a satellite? Well, he goes, he goes, I don't even think I could prove that I'm from the future. That's kind of how I feel right now. Supreme Panda's asking, Brett, who do you think will be the backup first baseman behind Christian Walker when they are resting him? Caratini, Yanner Diaz, and Mauricio Dubon. Guys, okay. Are you really going to give a roster spot to a guy because he's a left-handed bat and a backup to a guy that you're paying $30 million for the next 3 years to? No, you're not. I'm sorry. I just, unless Singleton has taps into some utopia of hitting and just crushes the baseball and starts hitting for not just average, but on base percentage and all that stuff and those things, then I don't see a place for him. Okay. I just don't really see a place for him. Singleton, 10 pinch hit home runs, calling it. Okay. Well, I mean, look, you can call it all you want to, Dave, but there's a lot more swing and miss stuff than swing and hit stuff. Singleton, he does walk, but I just don't think, I don't know. Look, I may be wrong on this and I may be off on this and y'all may disagree with me. I just don't see the value in keeping Singleton over some of these other guys on the bench who have more versatility, who have a higher upside. Okay. You can teach guys to take pitches, but you can't teach guys at this point in their career to not swing through the zone. Look how many times he swings through the zone and misses the ball. I just, again, great story, great guy. I have no ill will for Singleton. I want nothing but success. And if he's on this team, I want him contributing. I want him in the lineup hitting. I just don't see it. What was Locked On White Sox talking about a potential trade with us for Robert? Well, he was just saying that because we're rumored as one of the teams that will go after him at the trade deadline, he was wanting to explore the idea. And he actually sent us an email and was asking Eric and I, okay, what we thought about a potential trade. I was like, well, number one, we're not trading Cam Smith. Number two, we're not trading Jacob Milton. Number three, we're not trading Colton Gordon. I mean, you're not going to do a deal like you did last year because you're not going to get a Kikuchi or someone a performance like that a second time in a row. And Cam Smith is absolutely going to be the face of this franchise. Mark my words, the torch, imagine this is a torch, goes from Jose Altuve to Cam Smith. Cam Smith becomes the next torchbearer. Cam Smith becomes the face of the franchise. Now, Luis Salazar. Okay, you're talking about Luis Salazar. Luis Salazar definitely has a place. He has opportunities. He's got some minor league options. And so he's going to come up and contribute. At some point, they may decide to carry 3 catchers. He would be the perfect guy. He works well with the pitching staff, and he's proved that he can hit big league pitching. Okay, so Ben says Singleton is making the squad. He's a left-handed bat off the bench. He's depth at first base. He can give Walker a rest against right-handers. The biggest reason they have no left-handed bats. And look, Ben, I don't object to that. I actually agree with your reasoning. I just don't know if having him as a left-handed bat off the bench is a good enough reason to put him in the lineup. I mean, how frequently does he hit home runs? How frequently does he contribute versus somebody else? But that's why the guys that make the big bucks make the big decisions. But I'm certainly not opposed to it. I think there's guys that have clearer paths to making this roster. Jordan is the only one who's going to take a huge leap. I say 48 home runs, 199. Wow. Look at Theo giving him 48, 199, and 325. Big numbers. I love it. I'll take it. Sign me up, Theo. If you have an in on how to know his numbers, by the end of, his numbers at the end of the season, let me know. Maybe you got one of those books from Back to the Future. 775 OPS last season against right-handed pitching, if memory serves me correctly, on Singleton. Okay. Look, again, I'm not saying Singleton doesn't have value in some aspects. I just don't know if the other guys that are up for spots carry more value and more versatility than Singleton, because he's only coming off the bench to play first. Okay, think about this. If you put Singleton in, you're not taking out your 3-time Gold Glove first baseman, replacing him late in the game with Singleton, and putting Singleton in the place of Christian Walker defensively. So he's just coming in to pinch hit. If you're going to come in to pinch hit, why would you pull Christian Walker? You put him in a different spot. If you put him in a different spot, he can't play any other position but first. But this is something we can discuss throughout the season. I'm so thankful that you guys and girls sit down, take your time, and watch us, because without y'all, we wouldn't have a show. Here in the back of this, and tell you what you need to do to enter to win this bobblehead. Now, this is a pretty heavy piece of equipment, so we may have to do a local pickup. And I'm talking to the Astros right now about group tickets. I'll be getting some dates to y'all pretty soon. And we got at least one game on the docket. I'll let you know dates later on. Y'all have a good one. And as always, go Astros. Let's go win a World Series. Why not? Okay, Brett, maybe overshot the World Series. All right. Thank y'all. We'll see y'all. Have a good one. Yes, I see Fromber coming back.